Please to be seated. Our former President has arrived. Please be seated.
We are going to start the plenary session of this Metropolis Congress in the city of Hyderabad. We would like to start the session. May I request all of you to be please seated? Organizers to please take your seats. Respected Dr. Kalam, former President of India, Professor Carlo Ratti, the Director, MIT Sensible City Laboratory, USA, Mr. Parks Tau, the Executive Mayor, Johannesburg, South Africa, delegates to this World Metropolis Congress, distinguished invitees, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to the plenary session of the 11th World Metropolis Congress with a core theme, A City for All. I am really honored to be part of this session, particularly in the presence of such luminaries like Dr. Kalam, Professor Carlo, and Mr. Parks. The theme of the conference is so apt because it is very much in line with what the United Nations has highlighted as the 6 major transformation issues for the future planning process of the nations of the world, while defining the core theme as sustainability. The major aspect of that was an urban planet, and that is for achieving sustainable living. But along with this urban planet, there were certain preconditions. An energy revolution with 80% reduction in carbon dioxide emissions, managing and working and planning for the rising billion, adapting to the population transformation and preparing for a world of 9 billion people. Protect, restore and sustain a biodiversity management transformation, and strengthen the global governance. What you heard in the morning, our Honorable Minister for Urban Development, our Honorable Governor and our Honorable Chief Minister stressing upon the need for public-private participation in getting the problem of urbanization solved. I'm sure that the World Metropolis Congress would give due importance to these factors while planning for the next generation of cities for all. In the context of our country, particularly India, there's a large migration of people from rural to urban, hence a goal to provide roof for everyone. There is an indication by the government that there will be roof for all by 2022. In 2013, the urban housing shortage accounted for 25.7 million units. To overcome this problem, India has been planning now to create about 100 smart cities as satellite towns of the large cities. A vague interpretation of the smart cities has been given, and people say smart cities means cities with just digital aspect. But if you have to look at the smart city in its holistic sense, it is important that it should have the sustainable economic growth, high standards of living, investment in human capital, physical infrastructure such as transport, mobility, social infrastructure like healthcare, education and recreation. Some of these aspects have to be taken care of. And it should intelligently manage all the resources it uses through information and communication network and technologies. Platforms including automated sensor networks and data centers to make the living of the people efficient. It's a mix of commercial, and when we talk of commercial, it should not be purely service orientation, which has been taken by many of the cities, big cities in this country, but services plus manufacturing. Residential, social infrastructure, physical infrastructure, and public utilities. Success of such smart cities will depend upon how the technologies have been tailored and used effectively, taking into account the topography, location, and natural resources of the area. It will depend upon residents, entrepreneurs, and visitors actively participating in the energy-saving implementation of new technologies and decisions to improve the quality of life. Development of such cities in India will call for a centralized planning authority that would provide single window clearances, monitor progress of such projects, and ensure compliance. Our Honorable Governor mentioned in the morning that creating concrete jungles is not the development of Metropolis. It has to be taking into account the sustainability with all the three pillars, the socio, techno, and economic. That will ensure that you have the green pastures among the concrete, you have healthcare, you have education, and ultimately, this megapolis should be able to improve the human capital index. India staying in the ladder of HCI at number 78 needs to go up by the transformation process which we are talking today. We need to involve global urban planning groups, private sector, and technologies to achieve the goal of smart cities with sustainability thread woven all around it. I am sure that the Metropolis Congress will have a detailed deliberation on all these issues and guide countries to achieve these 6 transformations which the United Nations have highlighted for the planet Earth. And for deliberating on these issues in this panel, in this plenary session, we have 3 great leaders, achievers, scientists, administrators, who will now throw up light as to how the metropolis should take shape with the theme of City for All. We have with us our former president, Dr. Abdul Kalam, a great scientist, my guru. I have the privilege and the good opportunity of working with him for 25 years and developing some of the good technologies for our country. We have Professor Carlo Ratti, the Director, MIT, Sensible City Laboratory, USA, And we have with us Mr. Park Stow, the Executive Mayor, with a unique blend of youth and experience to his role as Executive Mayor of Johannesburg, South Africa. Mr. Tao has already served for more than 10 years in the most demanding portfolios in the city's mayoral committee, in addition to having deep roots in community activism and political structures. The city's spatial development framework, its environment management plan, and its integrated transport plan were embarked on during his tenure at the helm of portfolio. With these few words, I would like to now invite Professor Carlo Ratti to deliver his inaugural speech.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It's a great pleasure to be back here in your beautiful city. Can we have the slides? It's a great pleasure to be back here, both at Metropolis and in your beautiful city. Well, what I want to do today, I only have a few minutes, but I just want to give you some examples of what we have been discussing this morning. It's about, what is a smart city? What does it mean, this kind of convergence of digital and physical in our urban spaces? And just to begin, I want to say, we don't really like much the word smart city. We think, smart city feels a bit too much like putting the emphasis and the focus on technology. So that's why we like to call it sensible city. That's the name of our lab at MIT, and that's really about how can we look at some of what is happening, but actually putting people at the center instead of technology. Now, I wanted to start by sharing with you a picture. I often use it. This is a picture that people used to be really excited about in the 1990s. That was the beginning of the internet, and people thought at the time, actually the virtual would become more and more important. So much so that some people there thought that even cities would disappear. This is a quote by Gilder. Gilder is an American writer, and in 1995 he said, cities are leftover baggage from the industrial era. We are headed for the death of cities. Well, here we are at Metropolis with some of the greatest cities from all over the world, and the first thing this tells you is, that never predict the future, because, then 20 years later, somebody's going to look at what you wrote, and no prediction could have been more wrong than this one. We know the cities have been thriving. This is a picture from Tianjin. As you probably know, China this century is building probably more urban fabric than all of humanity ever built. A lot of cities are also being built here in this country, in India, and all over the world. We know that half of the world's population now lives in cities, and this number can swell to 5 billion by 2030. So what has happened is that digital, that Gilder thought might kill physical space, didn't do that. But actually something else exciting is happening, is that digital and physical are recombining, are converging. It's almost like the worlds of bits and atoms coming together with us in the middle. And that is really what is behind this idea of a smart city. Now, the very important thing behind the smart or sensible city is that this convergence allows us to do two important things. The first one is about sensing, about understanding the city in a way we couldn't before. And the second one is actuating, how we can, with all this information, create new dynamics in the city. Now look at how you can see a city in a way you couldn't before. That's the city of Lisbon. You couldn't do this type of mapping just 15 years ago. That's using billion and billion of data points from all the taxis moving into the city. And then you look at the city almost like a living organism, as you see here. And then if you got this information, you can start analyzing. This is a project we just released a few weeks ago. It's a project in New York. And what we did was actually look at all the taxis in the city. What you see here with a dot, a yellow dot or a blue dot, are all the pickups and drop-offs for taxis, in this case, well, in New York City's overall, but in this case at the airport, at JFK Airport. Then you can zoom and look at the whole city. And then you can ask yourself, one of the things we are discussing today is how can all of this empower people to do new things. How can this really bring people together? That's one of the themes of the conference. And I think that's going to be one of the important things, the important challenges, if you think about the 100 smart cities launched by the government here in India, is how can we make sure that it actually promotes more interaction between people, that actually brings people together. So what you can ask yourself is, well, imagine then people were able to share mobility, that people were willing to share mobility. Now, as you know, there have been, over the past few years, a lot of new sharing activities that have become very successful. People are happy to share even intimate spaces in the home, the bedroom, with Airbnb, with couch surfing, and so on. So the question is, imagine people were able to share transportation more. What would be the minimum number of vehicles you need in your city in order to take everybody to destination when they need to be there? Well, in order to answer this question, which is more like a theoretical question, you need to develop new maths. In a certain sense, this field of big data, very large amount of data, needs kind of big math or new mathematical approaches. In this case, we developed something called shareability networks that then we started analyzing, and what you find is quite extraordinary. What you find is actually that if you take the city of New York, or Singapore for that matter, or most big cities across the planet, and you ask yourself, how do we take everybody to destination when they need to be there, give or take a couple of minutes? Well, you can reduce the number of vehicles in the city by 40%. So with an infrastructure which is much smaller than what we have today, if we just use it in a more efficient way, we can actually satisfy the mobility needs of a big city. If you add to this something else that's quite exciting, which is coming now, which is self-driving. This is actually what you see from a self-driving car. A self-driving car scans the environment in 3D, a bit like the human eye. And this is actually the 3D maps it collects all the time as it moves through the city. Well, we're not interested in self-driving because of the vehicle. We're not interested in self-driving because you need to keep your hands on the steering wheel. But we're interested because when you got this type of mobility, something interesting happens. The car in the morning can give you a lift when you go to work, and then can give a lift to somebody else in your family, or can give a lift to anybody else in the city. So what you've done is actually totally blur the distinction between private transportation and public transportation. And if you do the calculation, if you look at the consequences of this, which is sharing the vehicle, with what we saw before, which is actually sharing the ride, what you get is actually a city where we could satisfy the mobility needs of the whole population to go where they need to go exactly when they need to be there, with just 20% of the cars we have today. So imagine how our cities will look by taking out of the picture 80% of the cars that we see on the road today. 4 out of 5 out, and just one is enough to satisfy the mobility demand. We'll see other interesting things if you look forward, thanks to this, something like this actually came together with cars, with the cars of the past century. The metal cars that came onto the roads in the 20th century then brought along things like the traffic light. But if you think about a more intelligent system, you can think about something like this, actually where flows magically mix without bumping into each other. Don't try it yet. And then you can ask yourself, in this case, how more efficient could the city become? You analyze it, and what you find is quite interesting, which you see here, is you see the same amount of vehicles to the left and to the right, but look at what happens with the traditional intersection and with a more intelligent intersection. And that's again the same flows, but look at the delays, the queuing, and actually what happens to the left and to the right just after a few minutes. Again, this left is same amount of vehicles coming to the left in the traditional intersection, in actually the most intelligent type of intersection of traffic light we have today, and to the right in a system that's more like based on slot, as we saw before. So this is just a few examples of how, a few examples of how actually all of this data, the convergence of digital and physical, can actually help us understand the city as a much more fluid entity and can help us develop new types of services in the city. The very important thing, however, is how all this data can be shared by people, how people themselves can use the data and then take action through the data. And that's actually what we did just a few months ago in Hong Kong and Shenzhen. You know, in Hong Kong and Shenzhen, the cities are very close to each other, but they're separated by mainland China border. And what we did is look at air pollution. Air pollution, air quality is a big issue in the country. And what we did was actually give the information to people. People themselves can go through the city, almost like probes moving through the veins of the city, collecting this information and using it to take action. Action that can be political action or individual action, if they actually want to change their traveling behavior or daily behavior in the city. And this is actually what we discovered. Look at this, the color of the pictures in the video is proportional to the level of pollution in the city, both in Hong Kong and Shenzhen. So red is higher pollution, green is lower. And I wanted to finish with this really to the fact that all this great amount of information we have today, that amount of information that's generated by the city, if you take all the information produced by humanity from the beginning to 2003, that's the same amount we produce every 24 to 48 hours, every day. And then, you know, all this information, if we share it with people, is information that can help us actually empower people to make decisions in the city, to take political action, or even as is going to happen in this country very soon, you know, you've got a great challenge about building a new capital for one of the states here in India, and how actually all this information can really help people participate in this process so that actually data can equate to more empowered citizenship. Thank you.
May I now request Professor Mr. Parks Tao, Mayor of Johannesburg, to deliver his special address, please.
Thank you to our program director and moderator, Dr. Saraswat, His Excellency, the former President of India, Dr. Abdul Kalam, Professor Carlo Ratti, and fellow panelists, fellow delegates to the Metropolis Conference. Cities today face a very different set of challenges from those encountered by our predecessors. Our urban areas are attracting the lion's share of the world's population as people move in search of different futures for themselves and those they care for. These realities bring with the opportunity for new types of cities and alternate ways of living within them. But there is also evidence that there is a growing need to counter greater levels of exclusion, poverty, inequality, spatial segregation, occurring within our urban spaces. Facilitator, last year we formalized the conversation on caring cities in preparation for the 2013 Metropolis annual meeting in Johannesburg. And the themes included on the agenda reflected the very perspectives of what were initially felt to be elements of a caring city. The conference prompted a call for world mayors to take the lead in facilitating new solutions in support of a different type of urban environment, one that demonstrates care. It can be argued that a caring city would be one that one gives all within the city a sense of ownership, regardless of each person's town, city or village of origin, their age, race, gender, physical or mental ability, sexual orientation, language, class, educational level, belief system, or any other differentiating factor. Two takes the lead in sharing a message of our common humanity, reflecting this in all aspects of the city government's work. Three is able to listen to, engage with, and respond to the needs of the people, providing the space for all in to participate and shape responsible decision-making and necessary conditions for good governance. Four provides the platform for socio-economic development and growth, in this way establishing opportunities for an improved quality of life for all, while balancing this with a focus on sustainable service delivery. Five fosters the responsible use of resources in a way that promotes sustainability for future generations. A city that proactively anticipates, mitigates, and responds to risks, with particular emphasis placed on those who are marginalized and vulnerable, such as the urban poor. And lastly, promotes partnerships, collaboration, and alternative methods of delivery, acknowledging the necessity of these in ensuring meaningful outcomes for all. Program Director, 20 years into the transition, it is clear that urbanization is the spatial nexus of multidimensional change in South Africa, from which the future social fabric will emerge. South Africa, and Africa in general, is urbanizing rapidly. Today, more than 50% of South Africans live in urban areas. A recent initiative known as the Integrated Urban Development Framework seeks to profile regional and urban development patterns in our country. It looks at policies and interventions and then proposes a new deal for South African towns and cities. Its underlying principle emphasizes that progress towards the attainment of spatial inclusive cities must be accelerated so that all the residents can enjoy the benefits from social and economic development and the amenities these provide. It aims to create cities that are livable, equitable, sustainable, resilient, and efficient, and support economic opportunities and social cohesion. Program Director, allow me to reflect on two important flagship initiatives that the City of Johannesburg will be implementing to enhance spatial and socio-economic transformation in our city. We recognize that our city continues to grow rapidly, with Johannesburg being representative of the global trend towards urbanization. Our experience in this regard is not isolated. Gauteng, the province within which we are located, is the smallest of South Africa's provinces geographically, but the largest in terms of population. One such approach to sustainable urbanization in the Joburg is the Joburg city's investment in what we have termed the corridors of freedom. This initiative is founded on the idea of restitching the city into an inclusive and accessible city for all, while the city's spatial form still reflects the impact of apartheid's spatial policy of exclusion and segregation. The corridors of freedom are a mechanism of knitting disparate parts of our city through the application of transit-oriented development, providing the benefits of economies of scale and urban agglomeration. The Corridors of Freedom is also founded on an understanding that the city has to manage its growth in a way that lays the foundation for improved sustainability for future years and future generations. Corridors of Freedom are viewed as incubators for urban innovation, and as such include green building standards in all new developments, the application of smart city ideas, and a focus on urban design that provides access to a range of amenities, services, and one that promotes health, wellness, and a greater quality of life. In the context of the above, our efforts must yield greater equity in the urban system, with the establishment of a more fair society being an ideal that we must strive for to address the significant imbalances evident within our city. This objective can be further distilled into three elements, and that is access, quality, and reliability. Program Director, the City of Johannesburg is taking on another era-defining program known as Josie at Work. This program will change the way the city does business, creating thousands of new neighborhood cooperatives and micro-enterprises hungry for entry-level work. They will be servicing the needs as diverse as separating and recycling waste as it arrives at our dumps, providing food to our nutrition programs, resurfacing and maintaining our roads, and providing frontline support to our water and power infrastructure. Our residents will be our suppliers as well as our customers, and transacting locally will make them better at being both. It will mean better value for money paid to the city and faster, more attractive service in return for money paid into the city through rates and service charges. Reflecting on the above, cities are clearly being asked to do more and to be more than ever before. To re-emphasize the theme of the conference, a city that plans historically for its future, implementing balanced plans across all aspects of city life, for example, goods and services, infrastructure, mobility, safety, the environment, economic activity, and governance, in a way that fosters sustainability, inclusivity, and co-creation, is a city for all. And a city that learns through listening to, engaging with, and participating in joint problem solving with its citizens is certainly a city for all. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, now is the time for much awaited talk from our Honorable former President, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. May I request him to kindly deliver his keynote address.
Friends, my greetings to all of you. I am saying greetings. So, it's a very important topic we are all discussing. and how do you live in a livable city. Livable city, according to me, my definition is, we should live in a city another 20 years' time, a carbon neutral city. That means all your cars will go not by fossil fuel, is electricity or biofuel. That's one dimension. Another dimension is the future cities, according to me, the solar power city. At least new cities, what we are planning in 21st century is the solar power cities, wherever sun is shining. Now, my talk is going to be carbon neutral city, how to evolve. How to evolve solar power city. Now, finally, energy independent city, that means completely fossil fuel free road vehicles we should plan. So friends, with this, I am very happy to see all of you. You are all concerned, livable city, that human beings can live happily with with good health and good livelihood. These are the criteria for living cities. Friends, when I was entering to the lobby of this building, a beautiful painting I saw attracted, that painting attracted. It was a still art, a metallic container with various shades of nature and divinity reflecting in it. You will see it in your lobby. The painting is done by one artist, Gunda Anjaneyalu. Anjaneyalu has done the painting. Now, why I am telling this to you, friends? This gives me an idea. Our city should be modeled like shining metal vessel, yet reflect the beauty of nature and purity of divinity. I am going to tell you, city has to reflect certain character of the people, character of the culture. You will find now we have in the dais, the guys are there, Park Tau, he is from South Africa, from Johannesburg. When we see Johannesburg, immediately we come to our mind, nothing but a great man, Nelson Mandela. Now, another person, why I am saying, every city has to have some unique culture that should reflect the city, apart from what I said, a carbon neutral cities and solar power cities. Next person here, Mr. Carlo Racchi, he gave a beautiful presentation. He is from MIT, Boston. When you think of a Boston, I have gone there a number of times. Boston reflects the youth. Everywhere, youth moving in the city. It's a city of youth, you get a feeling like that. Other building doesn't attract us. But youth bubbling with enthusiasm. My friend P.K. Saraswat is here. That he is a Hyderabadi now, Telangana. And Hyderabad, and also Mr. Somesh Kumar from Hyderabad, Mr. Babu is from Hyderabad, and all these people reflect a culture, an integrated culture, and the beauty of minds of various points of history, and how the various culture is accumulated. Hyderabad city indicates that. So friends, when you are from different cities of the country, I am coming from Delhi. Delhi is a place and invaded by many nations. Finally, we got freedom in 1947, and beautiful buildings are there. And beautiful old buildings are also there. History, how history. So, message I want to convey to all of you today. A city has got a life. It is not a lifeless area, full of life. The city made up of the people, what the type of culture they have, what the type of history they have. Of course, they have forgotten most of the cities that we have to live in a very good environment, that is less CO2 waste, less CO2 waste environment we must have. That means you have to graduate that is carbon neutral state. We have to go for the solar power system. Now friends, I would like to start my talk with an introduction. Last week, on 30th September 2014, I was in Chandigarh. Chandigarh, a city, as you all know, a plan by famous Swiss-French architect just after the freedom, and the famous urban planner, architect and urban planner, Le Corbusier. Le Corbusier is the architect for the Chandigarh. When you fly, when you enter into Chandigarh, you will see a model city of an independent India early 50s. I was attending in that city roundtable conference of experts at the Institute of Microbial Technology, IM Tech, and how to ensure carbon and contamination-free environment in our urban habitats. That's the topic. I think it's relevant today. Friend, the quality of environment in most of our great cities is a real concern. I have visited most of the cities in India and also many in abroad. Our hospitals are struggling to save our patients from drug-resistant microbes. Drinking water is loaded with pathogens, and poor sanitation is making a new fatal diseases jump from animals to human beings. There was a consensus in the round table to use synthetic biology, concept making our urban spaces carbon and contamination. We have to discover, all of you assembled here, we need to discover the effective and practical solution and discover them early also. Now with this introduction, I will go to the topic. I am indeed delighted to be here at the 11th Metropolis World Congress in Hyderabad and interact with the urban planners, civic authorities, experts, guests present here. Because I have been given 15 to 20 minutes for question and answers. Together, all of you together, about 400 guys, together you represent more than 130 different cities, I understand. The organizers told me, you all represent 130 different cities from across different continents, each addressing its own set of challenges and harnessing its own unique opportunities. I am sure your collective wisdom will go a long way in ensuring 21st century cities are equitable, sustainable, and have a good, robust governance structure. As you know, the urban population of the world is predicted to grow and gross, urban alone, not the rural. That urban population alone will grow and cross 6 billion made by 2050, not the rural people, rural maximum. Much of this growth will be contributed by the developing countries like India, China, of the world, including India. It is predicted that over 90% of the urban population growth will occur in these developing countries. Many of these nations are already facing challenges, as I said, inequity, environment, and scarcity of the resources. Hence, the global challenge of designing better cities is all the more significant, at least future cities. I am happy that Metropolis has been established in 1984 as a world association of major metropolis and the World Congress in Technical Conference to bring out ideas and share knowledge of one city to others. I am sure our experts assembled here will assess and evolve solutions for these challenges. When I am with you, all of you, I would like to share my views on building 21st century cities. It may be smart cities or over smart cities. I will call it building 21st century cities. Let me first talk to you about the scenario of urban India, because I belong to this country. Now, 21st century urban India, if you look at it, India expects to grow rapidly in terms of number of cities and city sizes both. It is expected that by 2030, about 68 cities will have a population of over 1 million. About 590 million people will be urban citizens. To accommodate this, 800 billion square kilometers of commercial and residential space needs to be built in urban areas. That means India will be adding that one size of Chicago to its urban area every year from now on. To meet this challenge, the present government of India has declared two important missions which I would like to share. First, the government has declared the mission to plan, execute about 100 cities, smart cities they call it, across the nation. Some work has started. These will be well-planned cities with stake for private sectors and community. It is estimated that about 40 such cities will emerge within the next 4 to 5 years alone, presenting a business opportunity of $500 million. The second mission is that of a rural, which means rural plus urban. Under this mission, the government plans to upgrade the amenities of the existing rural areas to ensure good roads, social infrastructure, economic activities and security. I envision the two missions to converge with one another and lead to the establishment of hybrid model where cities and villages coexist equitably. I am sure the 11th Metropolis World Congress, for which you are all representing, will be able to give ideas and generate knowledge, inputs for such a grand mission in the largest democracy of the world. Friends, one of the major challenges of urban planning in India would be that of environmental sustainability. Now let me share some of my thoughts on building environmental sustainability as a part of planning cities. I call it a carbon neutral city is my dream. What should be the city of our future? What should be? However varied the items on this wish list, you can be certain that no one wants to be like our present cities. No one wants to live like our present cities. What alchemy of infrastructure and type of creativity, the perfect place in which to live, work and play, is such an ideal, even possible, given the demands, pressures and constraints. A carbon neutral city is my dream. You can convert the city, small cities, then big cities, or whatever we build, we can build a carbon neutral city. I have visited hundreds of cities across the world, including India. But none of them comes close to my idea. So what is the profile of my dream city? You can put ideas. My ideas I am going to tell you. It should have a population of not more than 5 million people. 5 million people. Generate its own power through green sources. Green sources mean solar, wind. Be a vibrant economy where everyone has access to clean energy, clean water, use biofuel and insist on rainwater harvesting and is full of parks and trees. In short, you should be a flag bearer of eco-friendly habitats which aim at a complete carbon neutrality. This is my dream. You can share your dream also. My mail is apj@abdulkalam.com. You can put your ideas. I will correspond with you. Now, next one, increasing population and growing cities. Between 1 AD, number 1 AD, and the start of the Industrial Revolution in the early 1800s, the human population had grown from approximately 230 million to 1 billion. That is 0.8% every decade. However, the next 180 years, from 1800 to add 180 years, it has multiplied to the current 7 billion plus in the world population, which represents a decade growth of 11%. In the past century alone, the population quadrupled. Population growth has been closely accompanied by simultaneous rise in both wealth creation, sometimes extreme poverty also. There is more people. However, there has always been healthcare improvements due to advancement of life sciences. With a network of global trade routes, fossil fuel-based technologies, industrialization and mechanization, the world income per capita has also grown 9 times in the past 150 years. There is a specific aspect of population growth. It is largely concentrated in a few geographical locations. This has to be an experience of large, very densely populated cities. For example, to the early 1800s, London was the largest city in the world with a population around 1 million people. Back in Delhi, had a population of only 1 lakh in 1830, 100,000 people. While Hyderabad was more than twice the size, about 2.5 lakhs in 1850, where you are. Lucknow was still larger and population of 3 lakh in 1830. And Calcutta was the largest Indian city, about 8 lakhs in 1830. By 1960, our planet had 111 cities, each with over 1 million people. This number stands at 300 today and still counting. This concentration of population adds to the posture and resources of the local level and leads to severe resource scarcity. With increasing wealth, hence increasing per capita energy consumption, the threat of climate change looms large on humanity. So modern cities have to address the two-pronged challenge of better living standard and reduced emissions. The job in front of us to address better living standard with reduced emissions. The 21st century city will have progressively moved towards achieving carbon neutrality. That's the message I want to convey. Organizing cities as a cluster of micro-cities is the idea I am putting forth. Today our challenge is to achieve better city organization. Improper planning leads to intra-city micro-migration every day. In this optimal scenario, each city, even one with a population of 5 million, should be reorganized so that compressed city center with a population of 1 to 2 million and containing administrative, government and large corporate offices surrounded by satellite micro-cities and has less than 1 million people each. Now, friends, I would like to say that the 21st century city will have to have a basic transport on a network of high speed, reliable mass transit system as what we see in Delhi we have. Bicycling is a healthy option for both individual and the cities they live in, apart from the creation of a safe and speedy cycling lanes and bike rentals even on a hourly basis. And I personally believe solar and biofuel need to be encouraged throughout in our policies, financial incentive and public awareness drives very important. Now the future holds lot of promise as a new concept in nanotechnology, smart materials and design software will unleash an era of efficient, sustainable buildings. 80 green enterprises will give birth to the clean, green corridor jobs, those centered on business which either supply green power or green power generating. Now, one recently came across a plasma-enhanced melter system in which a high temperature DC plasma was used to gasify the waste in the stream of reforming atmosphere to convert organic material into synthesis gas. This mixture is mostly hydrogen, carbon monoxide, which is kinder to the environment. Similarly, the wind and solar microplant can be used to supplement conventional fossil power sources. through law and incentive, every building should be installed with solar plants and small size horizontal axis with plants which can supply at least 25% of the energy needed. Now friends, I believe what is the message that this experience gave me. I want to give you the message. When I addressed the experts assembly here, I was asking what the message. Definitely this Metropolis World Congress can contribute for this kind of vision of the nation in the domain of achieving carbon neutrality. That means realizing carbon neutral city towards achieving carbon neutral state will be the forerunner and the example for the nation, even the world. And carbon neutral cities result into carbon neutral states. What science and technological challenges does it pose? The challenges facing the humanity, one is water, the other is ecology. These are the two primary sources with which world economy is built over the years. Certainly science and technology have revolutionized our way of life, energy, water, transportation, communication, healthcare, aeronautics and delivery, judiciary, and general human development. Paucity of resources, inequitable growth within the countries, and different parts of the world, deprivation, depleting resources, and ego are among the reasons for conflicts among the remnants of the hatred from historical fights and wars. So it becomes necessary to analyze potential sources of challenges in the 21st century, how science and technology can find a solution to these problems. Science, technology, and humanities which bring diverse groups across the world. The technology has expanded physical travel and connectivity in a large extent, beyond any realm of imagination in the past centuries. This kind of non-linear growth of technology and its improvement of quality human life across the world is in the best interest of such humanity for carbon neutral countries. Now I want to share with you what is called Maharpata model. In cities there's a big problem acquiring the land. The Maharpata model for the land acquisition. I would like to convey to the delegates an important point. In every city development in future, one of the very important need will be acquisition of the land, dry land or wet land. A unique model I came across in one of the cities of India. In an equitable and inclusive model that replaces the coercive land acquisition and the exclusive development project, 123 farm families in Pune pooled 400 acres of farmland, set up a private limited company and developed a commercial cum residential project. These farmers own shares in the company proportionate to the value of this land. Plus they have got a very good homes, earn individuals on the shares they hold, rent from tenants and income from contractual work for the company, including the agriculture. So friends, in conclusion, I would like to say the quality of leadership. Finally, since you are a metropolis, you have come. And whether you want to be a great leader, out of a great metropolis comes out of a great leader. I have seen 3 dreams which I have taken shape in a mission and realization I have seen last few decades. One is space program, Indian Space Research Organization. The another is Agri program of DRDO, the missile program. Third one, presently I am working what is called PURA. PURA means providing urban amenities in rural area, becoming the national mission. Of course, these three missions succeeded in the midst of many challenging problems. I have worked in all these areas. I would like to convey to you what I have learned on leadership from these three programs. Because Metropolis, leaders you are all, what the leadership quality you need to great birth of a great carbon neutral city or a country. According to me, leader must have a vision. He must think or she must think of 20 to 30 years. How a solar power satellite in geosynchronous orbit radiating the power electricity to the earth planet Earth. And in our country, Vikram Sarabhai in 1960s, he can think of a geosynchronous orbit in space. And definitely it happened. Leader must have a passion to accomplish the mission. Example, our metro, Delhi Metro, and it is cyclic now. Next quality is leader must be able to travel in an unexplored path. Always leader has got the opportunity to travel the unexplored path. Leader must know how to manage success and failure. We are all project directors. I was there. Saras was project director. But if you want success, you have to go through some failure. So leader must have how to manage success and failure. Leader must have a courage to take decisions. Hundreds of decisions you take. Sometimes wrong decision, but you have to accept it. And leader should be the nobility in management. Leader cannot be, even a bureaucrat leader should have a nobility in management. Then every action of the leader should be transparent. Every action of the leader should be transparent, whichever country you are. Then, last and most important, leader in 21st century should work with integrity and succeed with integrity. Leader, work with integrity and succeed with integrity. That's the prime quality of the leader of 21st century. Now, friends, I have been discussing these essential traits of creative leaders with people of eminence in different areas and students from India and abroad. This quality of leadership will certainly empower the nation and the world for sustainable development of focus. My best wishes to all the participants of 11th Metropolis World Congress for the success in their mission of creating 21st century metropolis cities which are sustainable, equitable, inclusive and carbon free. Okay. Thank you, friends. God bless. Now, I can take, organizer told me I should take some questions. Okay? I am willing to take questions. Any word, any question? Back seat can get up, get up, get up. Yeah, shout. Shout.
People can raise their hands and then the
No, don't worry.
floor will provide the mics.
Okay. Mic. Or shout.
One at a time. Let us start with the lady.
No, he is going to ask it. I will manage it. You will leave it to me. Okay.
Thank you, sir, for your thought-provoking speech. My name is Ashish. I'm coming from DC. You mentioned
Coming
from Mumbai. I'm from
Mumbai.
Tata Consulting Engineers, Mumbai.
Okay.
Sir, I have a question. I mean, you said that a city must have a culture, and you cited some examples that cities have evolved. They have become great because of their cultural past and the lineage, So, when we build new cities, how the planners should take care of imbibing the culture or the local aspects, while the growth is happening. What is your view?
It's a fantastic question you asked, but I want to tell you. When below 17 years, hello? If you ask a question, you have to hear me also.
Yes, sir.
So, below 17 years, that is 1 year, 2nd year, 3rd year, 17 years, up to 12th class, boys and girls, they must have education with value system. Okay. Apart from general education, throughout the world, not only India, education with values. Every country has got such value system, good human values. That can be given only by 3 people. Can you imagine who are they? Father, mother in a spiritual environment.
Yes.
No, not only father, mother. Father, mother in a spiritual environment. And third one, great primary school teacher. Okay? Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Yes, yes. Get up, yes, yes. Go.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
No, 1 minute. Somebody has got up already asking a question. Don't ask in between, okay?
Sir,
I will ask you that side by side I will come. First this side and middle I will. Yes,
Sir,
madam. Go ahead.
मेयर साहब आप बैठिए थोड़ी देर.
You start. With cap you start. You start, madam.
Merci. Avant de commencer, je me présente Gambo Mariama de Niamey, Niger. Et pour la suite, je demanderai à la salle d'ovationner le professeur Kalam. S'il vous plaît, applaudissons pour M. Kalam. Car à travers l'énergie solaire dont il parle, je me retrouve au Niger. Car voilà, c'est mieux comme ça. Donc je disais d'ovationner M. Kalam. À travers l'énergie solaire dont il parle, je me retrouve au Niger. La première personne à pouvoir parler, commencer à étudier l'énergie solaire est un Nigérien qui est le professeur Abdul Jofo du Niger. Malheureusement, au Niger, nous avons le soleil, mais nous n'avons pas l'énergie. Le petit mot que j'ai à poser comme question, c'est il a parlé de ville modèle Maharpata. Maharpata, vous êtes indien, excusez-moi, je viens de l'Afrique, je ne comprends pas ce que c'est. Et je voulais savoir en anglais ou en français ce que veut dire Maharpata. Merci.
Well, madam, Maharpata is the name of the place. In French you speak. Maharpata is the name of the place. It is in Pune. And second thing is, what you said, that solar power, how do you harness? There are 3 ways of harnessing the solar power. In India, a few states already we have started. About thousands of megawatt power we are generating solar power by solar panel and radiation of sun generate, it supplies houses the power or any other places, schools power or farmers power. And we have planned by 2020 nearly 50,000 megawatt power has been generated by solar power, terrestrial solar power. Whereas there is another big program world is thinking, I am part of it, what is called space solar power. The space solar power is the building in the geosynchronous orbit, that is 30,000 kilometers above the earth. Big solar power satellite and few kilometers size, and that will generate power of 8 to 10 gigawatt power. And of course the earth, how to radiate to the earth that power, big scientific challenge. Many scientists are doing. So nice question you asked, madam. Next question.
Hello, I'm Preeti from Hamara Bachpan campaign. We talked about smart cities, we talked about sensible cities, and knowing your fondness for children, I want to know your vision for a child-friendly city in India.
Child-friendly
city in India.
Well, hi, it's a fantastic question. What are you doing? What are you doing, madam?
I'm the national head of a campaign which is working with urban children growing up in the slums?
I have a feeling you asked a very important question. Important question. How is child friendly? Isn't it? How child friendly city is possible? I don't think any one of them ready with that answer. Having any one of you can answer that question. I have an answer. Okay? Repeat with me.
Okay.
Are you ready to repeat?
Yes.
Where? Repeat.
Where?
Where there is righteousness in the heart, there is beauty in the character.
There is beauty in the country.
Beauty in the character.
Character.
Okay.
Okay.
That's what we need. That's
Okay.
what. Okay? That comes from the teaching of mother, father spiritual and also primary school. Okay? Every can.
Sir, I have a small request, sir.
No,
Sir, yes.
only this side. Now I go to this side. Okay.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, I have got a small
No,
request
please
from
sit
you.
down. Please sit down. Okay.
Sir, I represent an NGO. Sir, everybody talks about cities for all, beautiful city, harmony city, etc. We talk. This is not
Forget about everybody.
Sir.
What is your question?
Sir, since long time we have been talking about the beautiful city and harmony city, but when implementation comes, it never succeeds. Can you suggest something on this?
See, I have a feeling the planning I have seen how a detailed planning can have a successful program. I have seen.
Yes, sir.
Because it depends on the leader. Leader has got one great quality.
Yes.
Repeat with me that quality. I work with integrity and succeed with integrity. That's the quality.
Thank you very much, sir.
No, not this side. That side. One more question. That side. Yes, get up. You want to get up, I said? Whoever want a question, yes.
Good afternoon, sir. Your good self was speaking about the carbon neutrality, sir. But the capital cost of the solar energy and other energies are very high. So what we have to do to reduce the capital cost of these energies, how to make useful for the poor people also.
Fantastic question. Now tell me, who are you?
I am Municipal Commissioner Khamman, sir. My name is B. Srinivas, sir.
Good person. But I want to tell you one thing. Please hear me closely. India has 200 million houses. 200 into 5, about billion. Okay? At least average 5 people you put, about 200 million houses. I am advocating 70% of the houses, 140 million houses should become a solar powered, becomes big industry. Big industry, solar cell cost will come down, solar panel cost will come down, that the industry will, installation industry will increase, and the maintenance industry will increase, and the solar cell we have to produce, and it becomes a very big industry. It is possible, I have seen.
Thank you, sir.
This side. No, this side I am saying, this side out. Middle, you ask number of questions. This side.
Sir, I am Parshuramulu from
Sit down.
I am Parshuramulu from Telangana state.
Telangana state.
Telangana
Oh,
state.
you are Telangana man. Good.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Sir, I have one question, sir. So most of the cities are not taking age-old people's services.
Eh?
Age-old people services. Old-age people.
Old people. Sir.
Old people and neglected persons in the cities also. So far, the government are not taking care. For that, what is your advice to the government?
Anyway, I want to tell you, it's not a government job. They give some pension, government job. What is the son and daughter of the old person is their job to take care of their elderly person. Okay? Elderly person. Last question from the lady. Last question from there. Get up. Yeah. Last.
Sir, this side, sir.
No, the last question. Because last question you normally don't ask questions. Okay. Yes. Come, sir. Ask question.
Hello, sir.
Yes. The last person there. Yeah, you are yourself. Take a mic. Or shout. No. You give the mic to him. No, give a mic to him.
Urban.
No, give a mic to him.
Urban.
Okay, give a mic. Yeah.
Hello, sir. I am very happy to hear your voice directly. Yeah. One more thing.
Question and what?
Yes. I'm going to ask you, sir. Sir, how can we reduce the carbon in the society, because it is one of the biggest problem which is causes to global warming. No? How can we reduce? I have one solution. If it is right or not, I don't know. Please clarify it. Okay? Sir, yes, on the earth we have to have at least 33% vegetation. Then we can get the rains, as well as the balance of the human resources and natural resources we can able to manage. Okay? But unfortunately, many local bodies also...
time is there? I can close now? I can close?
Hello,
sir,
sir?
I answered your question.
Yes, sir.
I want to tell you.
Sir.
Sir, 1 minute. I know what's your point.
Yeah.
See, there are two ways of doing carbon reduction.
Yes.
Number one, you decide immediately in your house. You are come from where?
From Anantapur, sir.
Anantapur. Oh, Anantapur. I am coming from Anantapur now.
Okay, sir.
Yesterday I was there.
Yes, sir.
So Anantapur is a dry land, but
Yeah.
it's a nice place.
Yes.
So what I want to tell you is, you have to decide. Each one of us who assembled here, we should plant 5 trees. Okay? 5 trees, either near the house, near the park, somewhere identified place you must. By photosynthesis process, you absorb every tree, mature tree, absorb 20 kilogram of carbon dioxide.
Yes.
And also, it releases 40 kilogram of oxygen.
Yes, you are.
See, just one single action. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Of course, regarding your carbon neutral state, all the automobiles should go for electric driven automobiles. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, last question, sir.
Eh?
Sir, last question, sir. Sir.
Where are you? Last question.
Sir, I am here, sir.
How do you represent the last question?
Sir, I am here, sir. Sir.
Now, how do you say it's the last question?
We are running for urban agglomeration. That is the main problem for all these discussions and Congress. How we have to solve this urban agglomeration? My name is Prabhakar Naidu.
See,
I'm a Guinness Book record holder from Hyderabad.
I have a feeling. There is a book. Name of the book, Providing Urban Amenities Rural Area, or Target 3 Billion. Name of the book, Target 3 Billion. If you read the book, India has got 600,000 villages. Okay? So we have advocated what's called 7,000 puras needed for the whole country. So that the rural area people, the pressure doesn't come to the rural people for urban area. So providing urban amenity rural area is very vital. That's the program we are pushing. Wish you all the best. Any question, send me apj@abdulkalam.com. 24 hours to get the reply.
Sir.
So friends, we had, I think our lunch already done with the thoughts from Dr. Kalam and the type of interaction and the interest his talk has generated, as always, was something exhilarating. So we should all give him a great applause and thank him for the session has been exceedingly good. It has thrown up many issues, and I think the Congress will deliberate in the coming sessions on all aspects which have been raised in Dr. Kalam's talk, in the talk of Professor Carlo Ratti and Mr. Parth. And with this, I hand over to Mr. Somesh Kumar for the next session, part of the first session.
Thank you, sir. The chief guest saw the exhibition, art exhibition, and liked a particular piece. The artist, Mr. Gunda, Anjanelu is here. He would like to come and meet the chief guest and also maybe present the painting. The artist is coming.
Now, I request the brand ambassador of Telangana and our beloved Ms. Sania Mirza to present a memento on behalf of our city to our former President APJ Abdul Kalam sir. I request the Commissioner, GHMC, Mr. Somesh Kumar IAS, to hand over a memento to Mr. Professor Carlo Ratti. I request Commissioner to hand over the memento to Mr. Mark Taw, the Mayor of Johannesburg. And last, I request the Commissioner to hand over the memento to Saraswat sir, who has moderated this session. So, my dear delegates, this marks the conclusion of the first plenary of this Congress. We will now have the inauguration of the exhibition, which is arranged in the next hall, being done by Ms. Sania Mirza, and thereafter we all will proceed to lunch. Thank you all for attending this session.
Great, sir. Sir, please wait.